Okay, good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here today for this important conversation about retail theft. As a former business owner myself and someone who helped start a retail business with a friend of mine, I know firsthand how theft and crime disproportionately impact small businesses, especially, particularly when they're already managing rising cost of insurance, labor, rent, and all of the ways in which small businesses have to struggle to scrap together what they need to make sure that their business functions, survives, and hopefully even thrives. Today's discussion is part of an already broader effort that my office has been a part of throughout the year to tackle retail theft head-on and ensure that our businesses, families, and communities feel supported and protected. I'd like to also thank my colleague, Assemblymember Rick Chavez Zbur, who is the chair of the Retail Theft Select Committee and really led this effort at the statewide level. I was really happy to be a part of that and to work directly with him on some of the legislative solutions that we put forward in this last year. Being a part of the Retail Theft Select Committee was instrumental in delivering some tangible change for businesses across the state. Our package of 10 bills was signed by the governor to tackle the important issue, and under the Organized Retail Theft Prevention Grant Program, the LA Sheriff and LAPD both received about $15 million in state grants to address retail crime. And today we'll hear a little bit about how those funds are being used and what more is needed. In August, I joined the governor and California Highway Patrol, the California Retailers Association, to announce the multi-bill package that aimed at protecting small businesses, ensuring public safety, and providing law enforcement with the tools they need to address retail theft effectively. I know Chair Zbur is going to discuss the package of bills that we passed. I wanted to mention the bill that I principal co-authored with Chair Zbur, AB 2943, which is the California Retail Theft Reduction Act. And this bill really addresses loopholes, increases penalties for organized crime rings, and disrupts the sale of stolen goods online. It gives police and law enforcement the tools that they need to address retail theft. It does that through enhancing tools for law enforcement to include arrests based on witness statements or video evidence, which has not previously been allowed. I often hear the concerns about the $950 limit and this kind of revolving door, but this bill allows for an aggregation of multiple thefts so that you can get over that limit amount and people can be charged with a felony instead of a misdemeanor as well. And it also expands the use of diversion and rehabilitative programs like drug court and increasing supervision for shoplifting and petty theft offenders. We know that despite all of these actions and all of this movement, and obviously it's, bills got signed in September, October. They have a little time until they go into effect, and so we're going to be seeing the effect of these laws over this coming year and beyond. But we also know that, despite all of this action, we continue to hear issues that businesses and small businesses especially are struggling with. And so, for a lot of businesses, this is an experience of a death by 1,000 cuts where, a 7-Eleven, for example, told me that they are having people steal from them 10 times a day. And at that point, you stop reporting it, you stop even struggling with it because you don't have capacity. You have to help the next customer that's in line. And we know that this is wrong. It's not sustainable for businesses, and we have to figure out ways that we can help these small businesses. I was able to do a ride-along with a LAPD detective a couple months ago, and he talked with me a lot about how they work directly with retailers to help them do hardening to protect their businesses, and took me to one of the businesses that had, he'd worked really close with. They created a whole checkout system that really creates physical barriers for people to just run out, take a cart and run out the door, and had made some significant improvements that had made a difference. And then he took us to another businesses that hadn't taken his advice, and it wasn't because they couldn't afford to. They're a large chain retailer, and that retailer had no barriers to walk a cart out, and literally while we were in the store, we watched a man fill up his grocery bag and just walk right out the door and say, "Have a good night," walk on out the door. And we were just standing there by the door while we watched it. So, we know how prevalent this is, and we know that we need to do so much more to make sure that we're protecting businesses. And, through our work on the Retail Theft Select Committee, there was so much good work done, but I think, there also were a lot of small businesses that were kind of left out of the fold, and we need to make sure that we are doing things that not only work for their large businesses, but also address the day-to-day struggles of small businesses as well. And so that's why I really hope that today we can do a little bit of a deeper dive in the aspects for small businesses, understand how we can provide support, and hopefully learn from some of the models that have worked. So before we get into the hearing, I want to turn it over to my colleague for opening comments as well.
Thank you. That's right. Thank you, Assemblymember Pilar Schiavo. So first of all, thank you for having me here. It's really great to be in Santa Clarita. I haven't been here for 4 or 5 months, and love this community. So thank you all for the warm welcome. As Assemblymember Schiavo mentioned, in the legislature over the past year, we've made some real progress in tackling retail theft, a problem that impacts businesses and families and communities across the state of California. And I think hopefully what we've demonstrated this year is that public safety remains a top priority for California and for every member of the Democratic caucus. Last summer, before the session started, I began to hear a deluge of concerns from constituents, from small businesses, workers in my district about retail theft. I was hearing in Hollywood from retailers who were worried that the larger retailers, some of the chains were going to be pulling out of some of the strip malls in those areas, and we knew that if that happened, once a Walgreens pulls out, a CVS pulls out, a Target pulls out, those sort of become blighted retail areas, because if they're pulling out because of retail theft, no one else is going to come back into those. And then, of course, the small businesses that are in those shopping centers who depend on the foot traffic from the anchors, those folks are then impacted. And so I was hearing about the fear that we were going to have whole areas of Santa Monica and Hollywood and other areas in my district with retailers pulling out. And then what happens there? We have people losing their jobs, and we have the small businesses who depend on the foot traffic potentially shutting down. And then, of course, we have the neighborhoods around those becoming blighted as we end up having these empty shopping centers in our neighborhoods. Assemblymember Schiavo was hearing exactly the same thing. It was sort of a 1-2 punch. I went to Speaker Rivas and said, we really need to make this a priority. I know that Assemblymember Schiavo did the same thing, and the result of that was that the Speaker appointed this Retail Theft Select Committee that we both served on, and were able to work over the course of the year to really shape this package of bills that I think is going to have a really big impact on addressing this. They don't go into effect until January 1, but they're also in the context of Proposition 36. And the one thing I'll say about that is this package of bills is independent of Prop 36. So whatever you think of Prop 36, pro or con on that, This package of bills was focused on making sure that we were giving law enforcement the tools that they needed to address retail theft. And the one thing we know about deterring crime is it's not about the number of years that you're adding to a prison term. It's really about making sure that we're giving law enforcement the tools that they need to apprehend folks, and then if folks are apprehended, to make sure that people actually face a meaningful consequence. And the problem that we had before was that we had these laws where it was hard to, we had such high bars on conviction that we actually had law enforcement saying, I can't convict, so I'm not even gonna try to apprehend. And then when we did apprehend, it was actually very hard to convict folks that were actually stealing over and over and over and over again. And so this package focuses on the root causes of retail theft, and it gives law enforcement very, very specific tools to both make sure that we're bringing, that law enforcement has the ability to focus on these, on retail theft, and to make it more likely that once someone is apprehended that they're gonna be convicted. It also focuses on these retail crime rings. One of the things that we learned in the hearings is that a very large percentage of retail crime in most areas of the state is being conducted by these retail crime rings. I know in LA County, one of the major chains shared data with me in which they showed me that they actually knew that there were about 250 people that they've identified that they believed were responsible for about 80% of the retail theft in their chains in all of the stores in LA County. So, you know, if we could actually target these folks that are coming over and over and over again, it has a really big impact. Assemblymember Schiavo really talked about the lead bill in the package, which she and I co-authored, AB 2943, along with Speaker Rivas. You know, that, as she said, delivers practical, impactful solutions. It targets serial retail thieves by creating penalties of up to 3 years for those caught with stolen goods intended for resale. That is a new crime that was actually part of the governor's suggested proposals, and we embraced that and actually got that passed into law, and then Governor Newsom signed that into law. It also gives law enforcement better tools to make arrests using video evidence or sworn witness statements. One of the problems that we had before is in order to charge for retail theft at the felony level, you actually had to have police officers there on site witnessing the theft. I mean, that's like really hard, you know, given the resources we have to have police officers, you know, at the 7-Eleven that's being hit repeatedly. You know, we don't have the resources to have our law enforcement officers, our public safety officers sitting outside every single retail establishment. So this gives a brand new tool that I think is gonna make it much easier. You've gotta do it relatively soon. You can't wait a week. But if you actually have someone that's sort of coming in, you can actually show a police officer the video evidence or sworn statements, and that can be used as the basis to make an arrest. As Assemblymember Schiavo said, 2943 also expands the use of diversion programs like drug courts to address the root causes of theft, and it protects businesses from nuisance actions when they report retail crimes. I don't think this was an issue that we faced here in Santa Clarita, but there were parts of the state where we actually had some of the local governments not wanting to have crime statistics go up in their areas, who were basically threatening businesses when they were reporting crimes in their area. And so we put provisions in the bill to make sure that if a crime is happening, a small business owner or a store is not going to have a downside from reporting the theft. We want to know, we want people to report crime, and we want to make sure that our data is accurate. Then we had a whole bunch of other bills. Assemblymember Schiavo and I served on the Select Committee. One of the things the Select Committee did is identified a whole range of things. Then we actually had a number of authors throughout the state, about half on the Assembly side, about half on the Senate side, to really address a bunch of other issues that are, again, focused on the things that we're hearing from members of the community about why it was difficult to to prosecute. For example, Assemblymember Irwin's bill, AB 1779, allows prosecutors to combine crimes across counties into one felony case. So if you've got someone who is actually, going up the freeway and doing, stealing at the CVS's in LA County and they go into Ventura County, those can be prosecuted in either Ventura County or LA County in one case. We had another bill by Assemblymember Alanis, a Republican, AB 1972, that lets the Highway Patrol work with railroad police to combat cargo theft. We had another creative bill, Assemblymember Berman with AB 3209, helps stores obtain restraining orders against individuals who harass employees or steal or vandalize. So if you have someone that's coming into a store repeatedly, and then it's sort of hard to sort of have something that's sort of concrete to enforce, they can actually get a restraining order against people that are really focusing on a particular store and actually giving law enforcement an ability to sort of make sure that that doesn't continue. We had Senator Skinner's bill makes it easier to prosecute retail theft rings that are selling the stolen goods online. One of the things we're trying to do is shut down demand for the stolen goods. One of the things, I remember I had a story that was told to me. I went into my local Target and everything was locked up for sort of for shampoo that I wanted to buy, and I just got tired of waiting, and so I ended up leaving, and I went to Amazon and bought a bunch of shampoo on Amazon, and then I got this Amazon package, and the shampoo was like all beat up. It had scuff marks all over it and a tape around the top. And I remember telling the person over at Target, I told him about this story, and he said, you probably bought stolen goods. I mean, that probably is what happened. So, we want to stop the demand for that, and we actually have a new bill that gives new tools about going on these online retailers. Then on the Senate side, SB 9, actually one more on the Assembly side is we have another bill that actually creates penalty enhancements for the smash and grabs. When people come into a store and purposefully just bust up all the counters, break the windows, not only are they stealing, but they're doing all this property damage, and so we've actually had a bill that increases the penalties for doing that in addition to the thefts. On the Senate side, SB 905 eliminates the locked door loophole, which requires prosecutors to prove that someone broke into a locked vehicle to convict them of suspected burglary because there's stuff in there. And then SB 1242, Senator Min's bill allows for higher criminal sentences for people convicted of starting a fire while committing retail theft. That actually happens, where people will come in and actually, set fires inside the retail establishment. And then there's sort of a number of other things on Senator Skinner's bill related to online safety. I'm going through all of these, and I'm going to stop now because I want to give opportunities for, I think, the amazing people that Assemblymember Schiavo has assembled here today to speak. But I cover all of this because I wanted to give you a sense of the fact that this package of bills is very focused on the things that we were hearing were problems. And so there's almost like every single item that we heard in our hearings, and Assemblymember Schiavo and I, we had 2 large hearings and then a whole host of meetings throughout the state of California with every single stakeholder: law enforcement, DAs, retailers, small businesses, workers, unions, criminal justice reform advocates on the other side. And every single time we raised an issue, we put it down on our list and we thought, okay, what can we do to try to give law enforcement the tools that we need to stop this? But at the same time, also wanting to make sure that what we did is effective. I mean, I personally don't want to see our prisons filled up with someone who's basically stolen a sandwich, right? But we want to make sure that that the folks that are stealing over and over again, that we're catching them, that we're able to sort of prosecute them, and that the folks that are stealing sandwiches, that we're getting them into diversion programs, because we know that those folks are probably there because of a mental illness or substance use issues, and those are the ways that we want to treat those. So with that, I just want to thank, our work is far from done, but I'm excited about these bills going into effect this year. I want to thank Assemblymember Schiavo because she was such an integral part, attending every meeting, every hearing, contributing so much in terms of really shaping this package of bills. We couldn't have done that without your sort of dedication, and just want to thank you for really being such an important part of, I think, this, the solutions that I think we need to bring to the public here in the state of California. So thank you.
Thank you. I want to, Chair Zbur was so critical, and I think one of the testaments to him really leading this process is that when we had the press conference and the bill signing with the governor and the California retailers, the representative from the California retailers talked about how now other states are calling California, asking how we did it, what have we been doing, and that we're becoming a national model for addressing retail theft because of the leadership of Chair Zbur and the work that we did through the select committee. So, so really proud of that work, really hopeful that it's really going to make an impact for folks, and we really want to hear from folks today about that. And I know I'm going to change up the agenda a little bit and move some things around if that's okay with folks. So would love to have our representatives from the business community come up. I know there's not like one big table for everyone to come sit at, but if you want to come up and sit at the tables that are up here first, we have John Musella from the Santa Clarita Chamber, David Phelps from the United Chambers of Commerce and the San Fernando Valley, Nancy Hoffman-Viniak from Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber, and Catherine Grooms from the Small Business Development Centers. So thank you all for being here. And John, if you want to kick us off.
Absolutely. So my name again is John Musella, the Santa Cruz Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm so pleased, Assemblywoman Schiavo, for you convening today's meeting, and also very pleased that Chair Rick Zbur is here with us today, a longtime friend. And when I heard Speaker Rivas was going to be appointing you chair of this special select committee, I couldn't have been more pleased to know that somebody with a good mindset was going to really look at this from a holistic standpoint. And I think both of you have articulated very well this afternoon that you've really addressed this, or addressing this issue from all different points, which is so important. There's just not one solution. There's multiple solutions and various ways to kind of protect our businesses. So I want to thank you for that. Obviously, public safety is super important. We appreciate having everyone here from public safety as well. As we all know, retail theft has increasingly strained our local economy and economic growth potential. These crimes, whether opportunistic shoplifting, organized retail crime, or even commercial burglaries, disproportionately affect our small business and medium-sized businesses, many of which are still grappling with post-pandemic recovery, inflation, and supply chain challenges. Beyond the obvious financial losses, these crimes also undermine employee morale, increase operational costs, and deter customer foot traffic, all things that you've obviously identified. Employees in particular face heightened safety risks, especially with this uptick in retail robberies that involve threats and violence. Many workers report stress and anxiety after experiencing unsafe situations, leading to retention challenges for employers. Over the last 18 to 24 months, the SCV Chamber has been in regular communication with our retail businesses to provide them with best management practices to help them deter retail theft, and connecting them with law enforcement and security resources, as well as advocating to support your retail theft committee's efforts with your package of legislative bills. I think there's three important points the Chamber would like to share today. The first of which is I think it's really important to reach out to our BIPOC businesses and communities of color. It's critical. What the SCV Chamber found during the pandemic was these businesses generally tend to be less connected and have fewer resources than the greater business community, and we're not aware of the resources and grants and things that were available to them, tax incentives, et cetera, and they suffered as a result, which is why the Chamber has established special groups for the Latino business community, Black business community, and API businesses in our community. So I think making sure we're reaching out to those communities is imperative. Second, we need to let businesses know about these new retail theft laws and Prop 36 being passed by voters, so the business owners know the law and what to expect with the changes, and anything they need to do to change their strategies to be effective in deterring retail crime as well. And we also need to know and make sure the business owners understand how the new district attorney is going to address and prioritize prosecution of retail theft crimes and how that's going to impact law enforcement's actions as well. And third and finally, the SCV Chamber would like to see additional follow-up, continued conversation on this topic of retail theft to ensure that as these new laws are coming into place January 1, that they are effective and maybe there's things that need to be fine-tuned or refined. And so we'd like to make sure the businesses are part of that ongoing conversation and dialogue. So with that, I want to thank you again for bringing us all together for this critical discussion today, and know the SCV Chamber stands ready to work with you in this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And next, David Phelps from United Chambers of Commerce in San Fernando Valley.
Well, I want to thank Assemblymember Schiavo and Assemblymember Zbur for taking leadership on this issue in Sacramento and for bringing this to the forefront. Good afternoon. My name is David Phelps, representing the UCC. I'm the chair of the Government Affairs Committee for this organization. The UCC is an association of 13 chambers of commerce in the San Fernando Valley, advocating for favorable small business policies at all levels of government. The UCC is organized to build consensus among its member chambers and to advocate for public policies that improve the region's business climate. The UCC provides a network of communication among chambers, businesses, and government to amplify local concerns. Speaking to the challenges that owner-operated small businesses face, we must stand together to do our part to set up local law enforcement for success. Following a burglary or theft, business owners are highly encouraged to report the crime to police and have confidence that their cases are given the same attention as big box stores. Many retail theft crimes go unreported because owners don't believe the perpetrator will be brought to justice, but immediate accountability is just a piece of the puzzle. Businesses can now report crimes online without having to wait for police departments to arrive on scene for the report. It's often easier for law enforcement to respond to small business crimes as there are no corporate requirements to adhere to before providing information and access to video footage. Owners will benefit from having a more preventative mindset to improve your business's safety and security landscape. This means installing higher definition security cameras. While generic video cameras such as Ring may be sufficient for private residences, it does not provide a high enough resolution to clearly identify perpetrators. We encourage small businesses to invest in commercial grade cameras that utilize AI analytics to enhance situational awareness and maintain image quality, regardless of time of day or weather conditions. Law enforcement can then put your security footage to work to hopefully catch perpetrators, but also to identify repeat offenders to law enforcement. We also encourage placing trespassing signs in highly visible areas so law enforcement can more easily remove suspicious individuals. Our newly elected LA County District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, just recently gave an interview in which he highlighted two certainties in law enforcement that criminals most respond to: the certainty of being caught and the certainty of meaningful consequences if they do get caught. Among his early priorities, the DA is saying he will restore the ability of prosecutors to pursue sentence enhancements for defendants who use firearms during theft, rescind a prohibition against charging juveniles with misdemeanors for stealing merchandise valued at less than $950, and the DA intends to lead several task forces on public safety issues regarding this spectrum, including organized retail crime. Earlier this year, the UCC was proud to host Mr. Hochman and other candidates running for district attorney at a candidates forum in February. In Los Angeles, the LAPD is utilizing new license plate reader technologies to address current staffing shortages. According to LAPD Police Chief Jim McDonnell, research shows that motor vehicles are involved in 75% of crimes that occur nationwide. ALPR technology allows law enforcement to quickly detect vehicles connected to criminal activity. Officers can receive instant alerts on their department-issued cell phones or directly in their patrol cars, ensuring rapid response and the efficient use of limited resources. We also want to further develop community relationships to strengthen public trust. Retail theft meetings are handled on a division basis. So it's important for small businesses to know your division chiefs or captains and when or where those divisions meet. The same applies to knowing who our senior lead officers are. To address this specifically, the UCC is hosting its annual LAPD Captains Luncheon on Wednesday, January 15th, where in addition to hearing from newly appointed LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell, our member chambers will be introduced to their local division captains. This will allow businesses to become more familiar and comfortable with the process and what they need to prosecute. The UCC is looking to partner with our elected officials, fellow chambers, and other business organizations, as well as law enforcement, to improve public safety and deter retail theft in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Nancy, from the San Fernando Valley Chamber.
So I just want everyone to know, be very clear, that I'm a born and raised Valley girl, but I've lived in Santa Clarita for 36 years. So I skirt all valleys. And I lived in Simi Valley for a year too. See, all valleys.
That's right, cover it all.
I cover it all. So I want to thank both of you for introducing that amazing package of 10 bills that got passed. I was part of your original, what was it, we had a task force that we talked about. I'm really good friends with Rachel Michelin from the California Retailers Association, which we know she spearheaded so many things that forced you guys to do stuff. So I'm really grateful to her. But I don't want really my back to be to everyone, so I'm really sorry. I'm going to turn this way. First of all, I just want to know, how many of you are businesses in the audience? Okay, so we have a few people, because I'm sure there's a big question. I think, we're coming from chambers here. How do chambers support businesses when it comes to who are impacted by retail theft, right? And especially in your own community. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. As a chamber, we focus on being both advocates and resources for the business community. You don't even have to be a member to call our chamber if you have an issue. Even during the pandemic, we had a whole website, San Fernando Valley, sferesource.com. We wanted every single business to be able to have an opportunity to get those resources, and we worked with Catherine a lot during the pandemic to help businesses. So I just want to assure you, whether you call, if you're here in Santa Clarita and you call the Santa Clarita Chamber, you're in the San Fernando Valley and you call one of the 23 chambers, we're all here to help you with that. One thing that we've done is, I'm going to back up to the 80s. Oh my God, I'm dating myself. We started a neighborhood watch, but it was a business watch program. At the time, it was named as one of those launched programs by Mayor Reardon. No other group had it. And we had trained all the businesses to get to know the businesses around them so they would know unusual activity. And they had the numbers, as David was saying, in LA, we call them senior lead officers, and they could call their senior lead officer or the watch commander, and there would be an LAPD officer there right away. But now, we still, today, while that program isn't in the same essence it was then, we have organized educational sessions on theft prevention, like David was mentioning, and we brought in experts to teach strategies like improving their store layouts, using surveillance effectively, and training employees on how to respond, because I think that's one of the biggest things. Isn't our concern that we want our employees and our customers to be safe? We've also worked closely with law enforcement to ensure that businesses have reliable communication channels when thefts occur, and we know how hard that is. Everyone's inundated, and they can't get through on the phone, and I'm going to say it's not perfect in LA, but we're sure working on it. And I think one of the most effective strategies that we see is that collaboration, kind of what I mentioned from Business Watch, our shared experiences, the tips that we can do, that we could talk about the theft patterns so we could create a stronger, more unified front. And this legislation and Prop 36 are definitely going to help that. I know that Catherine's going to talk about the programs that they have for small businesses in the workshops, because I was going to say that's who we refer to when it comes to that, is we do a lot of work with the College of the Canyons Small Business Development Center. But as a chamber, we're a big chamber on collaborating with businesses and our partners here to address not just retail theft, anything that affects the business community. And we're going to encourage all of you as businesses and the ones who aren't to join any coalition or neighborhood watch program that comes your way, because it's not just what you hear at the meeting, it's working with the people that are around you, right? Like what they know, picking up their tips and everything. And they can also share information about theft patterns they've seen. And hopefully with all these bills, some of those things are going to go away. But it's not going to happen overnight. This isn't a magic wand. It's going to be a gradual process till eventually we catch up on everything again. But chambers are in a unique position to connect businesses with other community leaders, with our elected officials, with law enforcement, so we could create this coordinated response, which I think most of you need if you're experiencing this. And like we've had, just like United Chambers, we've hosted forums where businesses can meet directly with their city officials and the police so they could strategize. We've partnered with our assembly member and other elected officials to do the same things, because it's these collaborations that make businesses feel less isolated, right? When you know you're not in it alone. I know that's like, I know my chamber, this is not retail theft, but we had a cyber theft. And I didn't talk about it for 9 months, and I went to a conference and I talked about it in a session. And can I just tell you what a relief it was to share it with people? And then I found out other people were experiencing these things too. So sometimes it's just being able to have that shared experience together and makes you feel more empowered, right? You have someone that you can work on to tackle it together. And, I think about a lot of times, like, what the solution is. Like, we don't have one. Do we think the solution is all of these bills and everything? That's a tool in the toolkit. It's just one of the many resources that we have. Because I believe that it's not an either or an or situation. We need balance on both sides. So while prevention is very crucial, and it helps stop incidences, but we also need the strong responses that hold offenders accountable, and that's why we have a new district attorney right now. So we're hoping that that's what we're going to see, because we could report all the crime we want, but if it's not going to lead to a prosecution, and I always go back to this when we had that amazing guy from the district attorney's office talk about organized retail theft. Most of these things that you see happen are organized in ways that they're only hitting Ultas up the entire up the whole coast, or they're only hitting targets. They're not just randomly hitting the one here over in Valencia or the one on Golden Valley. They're actually an organized ring that we're not even aware of. And at the same time, we need these policies and enforcement measures that make it clear that theft won't be tolerated. And I was a big proponent of the aggregate, because I literally saw someone one day go into TJ Maxx and Nordstrom Rack and Home Goods in that one shopping center out with carts, and they were all under $900 and they weren't aggregated, so they were able to get away with it and no one chased them. And I bring it up all the time because it drove me crazy, and plus they had really good things in their cart, and I was upset that I couldn't go shopping for it. I saw what they had. So my one key takeaway or advice I want to offer the small business community, if you're grappling with the impact of retail theft, is to use the resources that you have available. And you're just hearing a few of them today. So whether it's talking to your local chamber, it's going to talk to the SBDC, talking to your legislators, listening to the community programs that are out there that, like, if you're in Santa Clarita, the sheriff's office has available, or LAPD has available. But take the proactive step and reevaluate your security measures, train your employees, and connect with the other businesses, and don't hesitate to report that theft even if it seems minor. I know it's hard, they're not taking the thefts the way they want, but hopefully we're going to see a change. But if we don't report it, it's just going to keep happening. And because we need to build that record of incidences that over time can be meaningful, just like the aggregate does. And so that's my story.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. And finally, Catherine Grooms, who's the Executive Director for the Los Angeles Area Small Business Development Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, and for both your commitment to small business and, the tremendous impact. So it goes a long way. I'm going to turn this way also, like Nancy did. So just want to let you know that we are a resource. So when you hear SBDC, so Small Business Development Center, I am the executive director. I do have a team of 20 professional business advisors, and we're actually part of the SBA. We're an SBA technical resource partner, but what does that mean? We provide one-on-one professional business advising to entrepreneurs and business owners. So we're a resource that you can access. One good thing is that there's no cost to work with us, and that's because of our sponsors. We have the SBA as a sponsor. College of the Canyons is our host, which was mentioned previously, and that just means my team is actually, they're employees of COC. We have the state of California, LA County, cities in the areas that we cover, and we're working with businesses in the Santa Clarita Valley, in the San Fernando Valley, in the Antelope Valley, in the LA metro area. We are a resource that business owners and entrepreneurs can talk to. And Nancy mentioned trust and a matter of pride. Sometimes it's knowing that you can access a resource, and the SBDC is a confidential space where you can talk about something that, you know, may be shameful to you as a business owner. You do not want to share with anybody that you did have a theft or 2 or 3 or 5, or that you did experience, you know, a cyber threat. It's a matter of pride. It's embarrassing, you know, to some. Some are okay sharing that with others. But that's one thing to keep in mind, is that the SBDC is a resource for business owners. And yes, we have had business owners that have been impacted by retail theft. So examples of how we're working with them, we are working with them to make them more aware of their floor plans, of their inventory, of the financial value of the inventory. You know, it may just be arranging and rearranging the bundles in their retail space so they have, I'm just going to say, obsolete inventory that piques somebody's interest, as opposed to the higher margin inventory, as an example. It's working with them to make sure they have the policies, insurance policies in place. It's working with them to make sure they are training employees. You know, is it a signal that people on the floor, employees on the floor, managers that are working, assistant managers, leads, is there a signal that lets others know in the store, in the space, that something is in process before it happens, but it does not put any employees at risk? So it's those types of ideas and focus areas, and it really is just alerting them to what steps can they take. You know, have they looked at their insurance policy for the exceptions? Do they have enough coverage? What are the steps that they need to take, you know, if their business is impacted? Do they have business interruption insurance policy? You know, we had a client that owned a jewelry store, and the robbery occurred in the early morning hours. But it was a call to us to help them because they were unable to resume their business quickly. So it's those type of things. And it really is just being mindful of the resources that you have. So SBDC is one resource. We have all the chambers here. So you want to take advantage of that. And I'm going to give you my website, which is cocsbdc.org. And it's just in case. We had a few business owners, entrepreneurs that raised their hands. So if you know others that may be able to access the SBDC as a resource, I want you to keep it in mind. But thank you so much for allowing us to be here today to be a part of this important topic for the community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I know we want to definitely hear from our law enforcement soon, but wanted to see if my colleague has any questions before we go to the next.
So, I just had a quick comment. I'm glad that you sort of recognize what neither Assemblymember Schiavo and I mentioned in our comments, but in the bill that we co-authored, we did make changes to the aggregation, and it's not that the aggregation wasn't available before. What happened before was you could aggregate, but you had to prove that what was in the mind of the criminal was that they intended to do 2 or 3 or 4 thefts together. And so the problem was, how do you ever prove that, right? How do you prove what's in the mind at one time? They're going to do it. So the one thing that we did is, you know, when we talk about what the new DA said, I mean, one of the things I used to say in my comments was you know, the thing that deters crime is the likelihood that you're going to get caught and then the likelihood that there's a meaningful consequence. You know, it's not adding 30 years of prison time. I mean, if you know that you're going to get 1 year or 2 years of prison time and the likelihood is high, you're probably not going to do it. You know, if you actually have 30 years of prison time and you think you're never going to get caught, well, then it's sort of like, I'm never going to get caught, right? But what we did is we changed the standard. So now all you have to prove is that it's the same people, right? So we're trying to get to these crime rings, and that the thefts are essentially substantially similar, conducted by the same people. And that's a big change. So anyway, so thank you for that comment.
I love that part of it. That was, you know, that was like so upset after I saw the people literally walking out with bags and carts and everything.
Right. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your ideas and thoughts and feedback that you've heard from businesses and resources that are available for folks. I think too often, you know, and that's one of the goals that I've really been working on since I've been elected, is that there actually are resources out there, there are programs out there, there are things to support folks, and we want to make sure that we bring as much of that out to our community as possible and make sure people know about this and know about these resources. So, so appreciate you being here and being a part of this ongoing process that we're working on here in our district to make sure we're addressing this in every way that we can. So thank you, very grateful. And next I wanted to ask if our public safety panel could come up. So we have Lieutenant Sergio Perez from the CHP Retail Theft Unit for LA County, Detective Jan Wong from the LA Sheriff's Department Retail Theft Task Force, and Paul Kim from the LA District Attorney Office. Very happy that the newly elected DA Hockman wanted to participate today, and Gregory Martayan, who is a senior advisor for public safety and retail theft to our office, here today as well. So first, would love to hear from the Lieutenant Perez from the CHP.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here today to be able to share just a little bit about what the California Highway Patrol is doing to help combat retail theft in the state of California. My name is Sergio Perez. I'm a lieutenant with the California Highway Patrol, assigned to the Southern Division Investigative Services Unit. For the California Highway Patrol, Southern Division encompasses all of LA County, but my team that investigates retail theft also covers the Inland Empire, as well as Ventura County. That's just one of the teams that the California Highway Patrol has to help combat retail theft. The task force, the CHP task force, was started back in 2019 after Assembly Bill 1065 was signed into law by the governor. The California Highway Patrol created 3 regional teams, one in Border Division, which is the San Diego area, Southern Division, which is the Los Angeles area, and Golden Gate, which is the Bay area, San Francisco area. But due to the success of the task force throughout the years and the need to prioritize retail theft, the task force has expanded. We do have a footprint in Sacramento and the San Joaquin Valley and some other hotspots throughout the state. Since the inception of the task force to current, the CHP Organized Retail Crime Task Force has been involved in over 538 proactive investigations. Now, proactive investigations in our world, they're called blitz operations. Blitz operations are where we go and help the retailers with their theft problems in the stores. We'll place plainclothes officers in some of the stores and keep eyes on people trying to steal product, and then ultimately identify people that are stealing product and arrest them. And then we also have conducted over 3,277 ORC investigations. Now, these investigations are not proactive investigations. These are investigations where cases have already been, where items have already been stolen, and retailers reach out to us and have us investigate these crimes for them and these incidents. Keeping in mind that the California Highway Patrol normally doesn't get telephone calls or reports directly to our agency, being a state agency. Most of those calls go to your local authorities, such as LAPD or the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. most of our relationships and all our cases come from the retailers themselves, as well as loss prevention. And a lot of times the focus that we have on the cases that we're working are going to be cases that do cross over county lines or state lines as well. So it covers over multiple jurisdictions. Again, over 3,277 ORC investigations since the inception of the task force, resulting in over 3,500 arrests, and has been involved in the recovery of 1,267,000 items of stolen merchandise valued in excess of $51 million. Again, some of the cases that we work are the proactive investigations, long-term investigations dealing with professional thieves, professional crooks, rings as you see on TV. Again, as someone mentioned earlier, Ulta, right, where they're going through different counties and different cities and different states. We work cases that come from out of state as well and come into our jurisdiction in California. And the California Highway Patrol is very well situated, being a state agency, to be able to cover a lot of these investigations that cover a lot of ground throughout the state. So our primary focus is on career boosters, ORC theft rings. Boosters are thieves, ORC rings, as well as fencing locations. Fencing locations are locations where these thieves go and sell their stolen product, and the product is then sold to the innocent buyer a lot of times, okay? The CHP is committed to providing safety, service, and security to the people of the state of California. We'll continue to take an active role in combating retail theft by focusing on dismantling criminal networks and bringing those involved in retail theft to justice. We'll continue to work with our ally agencies, collaborate with other departments, as well as the district attorney's offices and the California Attorney General's office, to ensure that we work collectively and impact the retail theft problem for you, our residents here in the state. I do have some tips when it does come to retail theft. I'll make it short, right? If you are a business owner and you do identify or you do see someone stealing product from your store, you're better off being a better witness instead of trying to engage. Try to get as much information as possible, identifying information, like what does a person look like, if there's a way to get a license plate number without being too involved, please obtain that type of information. And you can provide that type of information to any law enforcement agency that's actually working any kind of case, any kind of retail theft case. And you could also report it to our department via the department's website, which is chp.ca.gov.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lieutenant. And we are incredibly grateful to the CHP, who's really stepped up in the space throughout the state and really been leading and getting results in the by the way of the retail theft investigations you all have been doing. So thank you. I know Chair Zbur has to leave and wanted to say a couple comments before he has to go. So I wanted to turn it over to him really quickly, and then we'll get back.
So first of all, thank you all for being here today. I'm sorry that I can't listen to the rest, but I know I'll be hearing from Assemblymember Schiavo a report on sort of your comments. And just want to thank you, all of you, for really your commitment to public safety and retail theft. And I want to thank actually Assemblymember Schiavo. One of the things that folks may not be aware of here in Santa Clarita and in this district is that Assemblymember Schiavo is really one of the most outspoken members of the Assembly when it comes to issues of public safety and retail theft. I mean, she was very, very vocal on wanting to make sure that we're doing things to really address the needs of the community and also doing that in a way that makes sense, talking to law enforcement, talking to small businesses, and making sure that what we're doing is effective, that we're not just talking platitudes and doing things that are silly, but doing things that what the facts show are going to be effective. And so I really want to thank you for your partnership in this and for being really one of the, I think, one of the leaders in the Assembly on making sure that what we're doing on public safety is really protecting our community. So thank you, Assembly Member, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, and thanks for making the trip all the way up here from LA.
And I'd be staying longer, except that I have to help with some swearing in of some new elected officials in my district. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So next, we wanted to go to Jan Wong from the Sheriff's Department, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I coming through? Okay. And thank you for having myself and my partners from the LA County Sheriff's Department Organized Retail Crime Task Force here today. We're really happy to share some information as well as network and get to know everyone here. All right, so really briefly, our task force was formed in September of 2023. It is composed of 3 teams. We have a dedicated organized retail crime team that's formed 10 detectives from all over the county, as well as our sergeant who's here today. Well, leave anonymous. We also have another team, which is the Burglary Robbery Task Force, which was an existing team out of our department's Major Crimes Bureau. That team actually focuses on a series residential burglary crew and home evasion robbery and armed robbery crews. So they brought their expertise to the task force and in investigating these types of cases. We also have a cargo theft team, which specializes in cargo thefts, which is really unique and different than some of the other stuff in your classic burglaries and robberies. So it's just a little bit of the makeup of our team. I'd like to talk a little bit about our investigations and how we're helping not only the stations that fall in the Sheriff's Department, but also in what we're doing for community and community outreach as well as what we have been helping businesses with. Okay, so in regards to investigations, we do help station detectives with their cases because we do have resources to investigative resources that they might not have access to. That's one way we're doing it. Another way too is we are also engaging in blitz operations where we will go undercover at shopping centers to help apprehend people who are stealing from stores. For those, it's really great that we are working in conjunction with retailers and loss prevention, and they're helping us identify these suspects. A lot of times I'll be out here, even some of the stores here in Santa Clarita and shopping centers that we've been working in, and it is habitual thieves. It's people that loss prevention, they're recognized right away, and they go, hey, this guy's here every week. And we see him, and he steals $500-600 worth of stuff in the shopping cart, and they leave. So for us, we do recognize that it's a lot of repeat offenders and people that are habitual thieves. Another way that we are also working towards combating organized retail theft is also going to be by identifying fences. So these are going to be locations where booster crews and individuals who are stealing are actually bringing to essentially resell the merchandise for cash. And that's where these fences are receiving the merchandise, and sometimes, like we talked about earlier, the merchandise is ending up on online platforms or being resold in person. So we have seen that as well. For us, identifying the fences and the booster crews is what we're finding is probably going to be most effective because we're stopping the supply chain. If we take the big guy out of the photo, the picture, then maybe there's going to be a less chance that people are going to want to. Where are they going to sell, right? If there's nowhere to sell to. Other efforts that we're doing is we are actually training and working on helping our stations. In Santa Clarita alone, our task force has taught their teams, their special assignment teams, how to conduct their own blitz operations. We've also extended that to outside agencies. So very recently, we helped Montebello PD learn some of our style with blitz operations to help their agency with conducting similar style operations. And another way that we are actually working some of these cases, similar to CHP, is just by liaisoning with retailers, big and small. They'll provide us with information, tips, people that they see frequently coming in and stealing. So that's been very helpful for us in aiding our investigations, but also understanding that oftentimes a lot of these retailers have really great investigators that are putting together great cases themselves. So that helps us with our investigations because oftentimes they see these guys every week. They know, I know what car he drives, I know where area he stays in, he's gonna be here every Thursday to steal. I mean, that's how detailed some of these loss prevention investigators are. So that's been a great resource for us, and we do liaison with them. Another thing that we do that's what I feel is a very strong component of our task force is actually providing community outreach. So regularly, my partner and I, David, you in the audience here, we will actually do community town halls. We'll do presentations at chambers of commerce or retail associations just to provide tips and just more information about what we're doing as a task force and for the community to help recognize what organized retail theft is and what to do if they encounter or see one. We recently did a similar training for community, small business, owners and employees to recognize and what they can do. So we are finding that that's very helpful, is just arming the community with tips that they can bring to their own stores, their own businesses to help prevent retail theft. We've been very busy. I would like to really quickly, before we go on, just provide some data for the Sheriff's Department Task Force. So since inception, which was last September of 2023, our Organized Retail Crime Task Force has worked 1,641 cases. We've arrested 944 individuals who were committing organized retail theft and other related crimes. We have submitted 549 adult cases to the LA County District Attorney's Office for filing consideration. We have authored 717 warrants in our cases and investigations into organized retail theft suspects, crews, and we've given over 30 community and retail meetings, presentations provided throughout all of LA County, and we have recovered over $29.1 million in stolen merchandise. So we've just been all over the county working, sometimes out of the county as well. So we're just excited to be here and network, and if there's any questions or anyone's businesses or community group that would like some more information, feel free to reach out afterwards.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for your incredible work, Mr. Kim from the DA's office.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Kim, and on behalf of District Attorney Nathan Hochman, I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. District Attorney Hochman wants everyone here that's in this room to know that he wants your businesses to succeed. He wants your employees to feel safe when they're at work. He wants your customers to feel safe when they're shopping. And combating organized retail theft is one of his highest priorities. I'd also like to thank Assemblywoman Schiavo and Chair Zbur for putting together the hard work that it took to bring these laws into effect. Some of the laws that were discussed you've heard about, but one of the more interesting laws that you haven't heard about is an enhancement when it comes to possessing stolen property. Up until now, once it was over $950, there wasn't really much we could do, but now because of the hard work that's been put in by Assemblymember Schiavo, there's going to be enhancements of an additional year if you're in possession of over $50,000. And those enhancements keep going up. When you get to $1 million, you get to $2 million, and that's significant. And I know that District Attorney Hochman wants prosecutors like myself to use our best discretion, to use the tools that we have available, such as the tools that we've just been given and just been informed of today, along with the tools to go after the smash and grab robbers to the full extent of the law, particularly when violence is used, particularly if a gun is used, and particularly if we're talking about organized crime members that are committing these thefts. I look forward to speaking with all of you as well as answering any questions that you may have after today's panel. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, Gregory Martayan, happy to have you here.
Thank you, Assemblymember Schiavo, for providing this opportunity in order to hear from public safety, business, and organization leaders from throughout the region. Our coming together and your willingness to facilitate this important dialogue will directly impact in a positive way the quality of life for residents, families, and small businesses. Thank you as well to Assemblymember Rick Chavez-Burr for meeting the moment and agreeing to take on the monumental task of chairing the Assembly Select Committee on Retail Theft. Assemblymember Burr's commitment and service to the people of California as he partners with Assemblymember Schiavo to curb retail theft is both commended and celebrated. The package of bills signed by the governor is going to be making a very large difference in the state of California, and in fact, it will be saving lives. Retail theft has become a pervasive issue affecting businesses, communities, and the economy at large. The increase, while concerning, also reveals deeper societal challenges that we must address to create and secure a brighter future for all. Retail theft is not an isolated issue. It is rooted in a variety of causes, including but not limited to economic insecurity, and a rise in organized crime networks. The pandemic, as well as these organized crime networks and economic struggles, have also been a real catalyst, exacerbating existing pressures. Retail theft is an exploitation by criminals of vulnerable businesses. As we look to solve this challenge, it is imperative that we take a multifaceted approach. There is no single solution, but there are key areas where we can focus our efforts. Please allow me a moment to go over some of the key areas which the Select Committee by the Assembly is already doing. Strengthening law enforcement partnerships, statewide and locally. Collaborating more closely with law enforcement agencies to track and disrupt organized crime rings fueling retail theft, which is some of what you heard today. Community engagement, building stronger relationships between retailers and the communities they serve to create a sense of shared responsibility in preventing crime. Public awareness campaigns, educating the public about the personal and economic impacts of retail theft, encouraging community members to report suspicious activity. Retail worker safety training, as referred to by our CHP colleague, offering regular training for employees on how to safely manage theft situations without risking harm to themselves or others. Mental health resources, expanding access to mental health and social services, which may prevent desperate acts of theft driven by personal crisis. Economic support programs, addressing economic disparities by offering job training programs and pathways to employment. Corporate collaboration, establishing coalitions among retailers to share data and intelligence on theft patterns, organized crime, and preventative measures. Public-private partnerships, partnering with local governments and private entities to fund and implement community-based anti-theft initiatives. Youth engagement, introducing programs in schools and community centers to educate young people on reporting and bridging the gap with public safety agencies. Retail design improvements and mitigations, adopting store layouts and technologies that make it harder for theft to occur, including controlled entry points and anti-theft tagging systems. And finally, enhanced security measures, increasing the use of advanced surveillance technologies such as cameras and real-time data sharing platforms, as was discussed by our chambers, to deter criminal activity, developing integrated systems that alert nearby businesses of theft activity in real time, allowing for faster responses. Those of us who have been on the front lines of this crisis have seen how even the most minor incidents of retail theft can escalate quickly to acts of aggression and even homicide. It is for this reason, as well as many others, that we must act quickly, as Assemblymember Schiavo has been doing in the state, to solve the complex problems around this issue. I continue to urge the Select Committee to work the solution from the outside in, addressing the causes of retail theft at all levels. Engaging statewide with city councils, county supervisors, corporations, businesses, faith leaders, and community organizations, as we are doing tonight, helps bridge the gap of communication regarding retail theft. And it helps implement some of the key steps which we have already discussed this evening. And that is what tonight is all about. During my time as the former Director of Public Safety in Los Angeles' 5th District, I found one of the greatest issues my team and I had to tackle was underreporting. How could we expect to curb hate crimes, hate incidents, retail theft, burglaries, and the like without residents and businesses reporting? Once we engage in a meaningful way, educating about reporting and bringing the resources of all departments to bear, not just law enforcement, we saw a decrease in Part 1 and Part 2 crimes across the board. For this reason, I have made the above recommendations to Assemblymember Schiavo, because they work. Retail theft preys upon the most vulnerable in our communities. Small shops who are underinsured or have no insurance at all, many of whom cannot survive even one major retail theft incident. Many retailers endure violence, assaults, battery, shootings, and trauma, but still keep their doors open. I commend Assemblymember Schiavo and Chair Zbur for their continued commitment to support our community and our vulnerable populations. As a final note, Criminals don't know jurisdictional boundaries. As such, we must continue to empower and support our local and state law enforcement agencies to more regularly create and engage in joint task forces throughout the region. The state of California is home to the greatest, most diverse, and best trained law enforcement agencies in these United States. Working across city and county lines helps create a safer California for residents, business owners, tourists, and children. The package of bills that was passed, supported by Assembly Members Schiavo and Zbur, does exactly that and provides the tools necessary to help curb retail theft on a state level. As Assembly Member Schiavo's advisor on retail theft and public safety, I want to commend the Assembly member once again for her diligent service in this space of public safety. The long-term strategy being implemented to curb retail theft is commendable. By addressing both the immediate problem and its root causes, we can build safer communities, protect businesses, and ensure that our economy continues to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for those thoughtful recommendations, and to all of the law enforcement here today for the work that you've been doing. I'm hearing about millions of dollars in recovered stolen goods, thousands of investigations and prosecutions that have happened, and so we know that, it's hard sometimes to feel like progress is happening when people are seeing things that are happening on social media that might even be in other states. But I think it's an important reminder of the hard work that has happened and the shift that has changed to really make sure that we are addressing this in a real concrete way that makes an impact in people's lives and for the businesses and community members here in our community and throughout the state. So very, very grateful for your work and for your leadership to also bring people into the fold and make sure that they have the tools that they need to be a part of the solution as well. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here today. Thank you. So next we wanted to have an opportunity for folks in the public to come up and give public comment for 2 minutes. If there's anyone in here who wants to come up and share about their experience, about recommendations they have or things they'd like to see, or questions we could work on answering for folks as well. So happy to open it up. The podium in the center is open for public comment if anyone would like to take advantage of that. Or we can just talk afterwards if you'd like to, if that's more comfortable. Okay. Well, if that's the case, we have a holiday party happening at our office after this. So everyone is welcome to join us at our office, which is on Turney Road, 27441 Turney Road. I have to do a shameless plug for our holiday party. But yeah, it's going to be fun. But on this topic, I truly have been pulling together folks. As soon as as we formed the select committee, I reached out to, some of the chambers in the room here to talk about what they've been hearing, what they've experienced, make sure that the work that I did on the committee was really grounded in the experiences that businesses have had in our community and in our district, and that's been really informing this work ever since. And that's, really what has driven my desire to engage so much locally on this issue, because I really do see the need, especially for small businesses, to have more support when it comes to addressing retail theft. And so, we are going to continue to work on this legislatively and at the state level to make sure that we are, bringing support to our communities in every way that we can possibly do that, and want to make sure that small businesses are having support and resources that they need to be able to do the kinds of recommendations that were discussed tonight, like having the high definition video cameras that are so critical to now that law enforcement is able to actually bring charges against folks based on those videos, you got to make sure you can actually see someone's face. And so, things like that make a huge difference, but also can be really costly when you have a thin margin as a small business. And we know that, things like that need support and resources for that to be a reality for many businesses. So we're going to continue to do this work. I know Chair Zbur continues to be committed to this, and we want to make sure that, as we do that, we will continue to be engaged at the local level with law enforcement, with our chambers, with our small businesses, and continue to bring resources and supports forward. I think, some of the trainings that were talked about tonight as an opportunity to help us, bring that information and those that support out to small businesses, I think, is an opportunity for us to share some of the good information that law enforcement already has, and we just have to, get it out to more folks in our community to be able to utilize that, and we'll continue to find as many ways as possible to be able to support those in our community who are, making that the communities that we love to live in. Without small businesses, we know it wouldn't have the same kind of community feel, the same kind of unique, look and opportunities for us. And we know that small businesses are the ones that really drive the economy in LA, that they are the largest employers if you group them all together, and the most employers in our area. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that we're supporting them in return as well. So thank you to everyone who were here today, who spoke, who came and joined us. I'm available after the hearing. And also Ravi Kalan, I want to thank my staff who worked very hard on pulling this together and worked with all of the speakers. So very grateful for her leadership and support in our office as well. So thank you so much. And this will adjourn our community conversation for the day. Thank you.